The report Future Lives, Social Mobility in Question paints a stark picture of Canada's potential future, warning of unprecedented levels of uncertainty. It shows families across the country grappling with wage stagnation, rising debt, soaring house prices, and an increasingly unaffordable cost of living. You may have heard of this report recently when Pierre Poilievre expressed alarm at its findings, bringing national attention to its contents. Top federal advisors to the Liberal Party have outlined a grim scenario, one that suggests Canada's social fabric could be at risk. For years, expert reports commissioned by Employment and Social Development Canada and the Privy Council have hinted at a future so bleak it could undermine the very foundation of Canadian society. So what does this report actually say? And more importantly, who is listening? And what are they prepared to do? People may lose faith in the Canadian project, the report warns. They may reject policies that promote education, jobs, or home ownership. The usual levers may seem misguided and wasteful to those who have abandoned the idea of moving up. They could lose the drive to better themselves and their communities. This sobering conclusion comes from Policy Horizons Canada, a federal foresight agency that reports to the Ministry of Employment and the Privy Council office. The report doesn't shy away from stark projections. Although this may seem unthinkable, it says, in the coming years, a significant proportion of people in Canada may struggle to access basic necessities. It's shocking, but for many, not surprising. Access to clean water, affordable food, housing, secure employment, and reliable energy is under increasing pressure. The report signals a moment of reckoning, urging serious reflection and action as we confront a future that feels less stable with each passing year. This all sounds familiar, but with a doomsday-like theme. But the author's final words are what is making people take note. It is plausible for a scenario in 2040. In 2040, pursuing post-education is no longer considered a reliable path to social mobility. Tuition and housing costs exclude all but the wealthy. Owning a home is not a realistic goal for many. A growing percentage of homeowners also own rental properties. They oppose policies to expand the housing supply or freeze rents. People see inheritance as the only reliable way to get ahead. Society increasingly resembles an aristocracy. People rarely mix with other different socio-economic statuses. Dating apps filter by class. Cognitive dissonance between what youth are programmed to want and what they know they can expect leads many to frustration and apathy. Only a few maintain a strong drive to innovate and succeed in traditional terms. The report continues. More people may struggle to afford rent, bills, or groceries. The resulting stress could worsen mental health challenges. This would increase demand for social services. More people in Canada, including recent immigrants, may emigrate to jurisdictions where they perceive upward social mobility or a higher standard of living is easier to attain. If young workers leave Canada, it may become harder to pay for the systems that support a growing number of older people. And finally, people might find alternative ways to meet their basic needs. People may start to hunt, fish, and forage on public lands and waterways without reference to regulations. Excuse me? Seriously, The government think tank believes it will be so bad that we will go to Nose Hill Park in Calgary or High Park in Toronto to snare rabbits or bow hunt Canada geese. Let that sink in for a moment. But why did things seem better before the Trudeau Liberals? We were thriving as Canadians, and the future was promising. This report details much more, but they don't go as far as blaming the Liberals for this bleak future. But to anyone reading between the lines, we know. And I think Mark Carney knows as well. That's why he has never made a statement about the report and has ignored it altogether. For some, this future is already reality. Liberal leader Mark Carney has been Trudeau's advisor for the past 5 years. A careful reading of his words and policy indicates he's about to double down on Trudeau's policies, from higher taxes to major new debt, from carbon taxes to strangling red tape on resource projects. The very same policies that bring about this doomsday scenario of the report. Jagmeet Singh, NDP leader, has come out to state that he is concerned about this report and the future it envisions. Singh criticizes the Liberal and Conservative platforms, suggesting it fails to address the systematic and inequalities it represents. He advocates for policies aimed at enhancing social mobility, such as affordable housing, accessible education, and robust social programs. Singh's stance implies that the NDP seeks to counteract this trend outlined in the report through progressive policy measures. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has referenced the report during the 2025 federal election campaign. He described the report's depiction of Canada's potential future as terrifying, using it to criticize the current government's policies. He argues that the scenario outlined in the report, where upward mobility is rare and downward mobility is common, reflects the consequences of an existing Liberal and NDP-supported policymakers. He emphasizes the need for policy changes to prevent such an outcome. As I stated earlier, there are no public records indicating that Mark Carney has directly addressed the Future Lives Social Mobility in Question report by Policy Horizons Canada. And I think sometimes silence says a lot. Now, with the politics out of the way, what does this mean for Canada and Alberta specifically? The report Future Lives Social Mobility in Question by Policy Horizons Canada presents a foresight scenario envisioning a Canada in 2040, where upward social mobility becomes very rare and downward mobility becomes very common. This scenario explores potential societal shifts and their implications, aiming to inform policymakers about possible future challenges and opportunities. So let's go over the key findings and the themes of this report. Key themes and findings. Number 1, erosion of traditional mobility pathways. Post-secondary education. By 2040, post-secondary education is no longer a guaranteed route to upward mobility. High tuition and housing costs make it accessible primarily to the very wealthy. Additionally, the rapid evolution of job market demands renders many programs outdated, leading to decreased enrollment and a perception that this post-secondary education is only reinforced by elite status rather than a pathway to success. Next is housing. Home ownership becomes increasingly unattainable for many, with intergenerational mortgages and multi-generational living arrangements becoming more common. Wealth disparities between homeowners and renters intensifies, leading to social and political tensions. Intergenerational wealth. Inheritance emerges as the primary means of economic advancement, fostering a society where wealth and status are inherited rather than earned, resembling an aristocracy. Number 2, societal fragmentation. Social siloing. Interactions across social economic groups diminish. Algorithms-driven platforms and virtual environments reinforce class divisions, limiting opportunities for social connections that could facilitate upward mobility. Aspirations versus reality. Youth aspirations for upward mobility clash with the reality of limited opportunities, leading to widespread frustration, apathy, and a decline in motivation to innovate, to pursue traditional success. Number 3, technology disruption. AI's widespread adoption reduces the value of human labor, especially in creative and knowledge-based fields. Gig work and side hustles become prevalent, but access to advanced AI tools remains limited to the affluent. And this could create more anxiety and inequalities. There are also policy implications. There's economic challenges. Concentration of capital among the wealthy may stifle innovation and economic growth. Labor unrest could deter investment, and decreased customer spending might shrink the economy. There's a lot of mental health concerns here as well. Financial stress and diminished prospects for advancement could lead to increased mental health issues, placing additional strain on social services. There's also going to be migration patterns disrupted. Canada may become less attractive to immigrants seeking upward mobility, while domestic talent might emigrate in search of better opportunities, leading to labor shortages and demographic imbalances. There could be alternative economics. People might turn to cooperative models and informal economies to meet basic needs, challenging traditional market structures and reducing tax revenues. There's going to be education system strain. Declining faith in post-secondary education could lead to reduced enrollment and support, potentially misaligning educational institutes with labor market needs. There will be erosion of trust in institutions. Perceived systemic failures may lead to civil disobedience, tax evasion, and the rise of radical ideologies threatening social cohesion. Now, what are the implications for Alberta, though, with all these doomsday-type scenarios? Well, Alberta, with its unique economic landscape, may experience these trends in specific ways. As the province continues to diversify beyond traditional industries, access to affordable education and retraining programs will be crucial to ensure residents can adapt to new markets. Urban centers like Calgary and Edmonton may face increased housing pressures, making policies necessary that promote affordable housing and prevent wealth concentration. To combat potential apathy among young people, Alberta might invest in programs that align with aspirations, such as entrepreneurship initiatives and support for innovative industries. Expanding access to mental health resources will be vital to address the psychological impacts of economic and social uncertainties. And encouraging cooperative models in sectors like housing, childcare, and healthcare could provide alternative pathways to stability and community initiatives. While the scenario outlined in this report is not predetermined, it serves as a valuable tool for policymakers to anticipate and address potential challenges. By proactively implementing inclusive and forward-thinking policies, Canada, and Alberta specifically, can work towards preserving and enhancing social mobility for future generations. What do you think of this report? We would love to hear from you. Post your comment below. I will leave you now with a clip of Pierre Poilievre, as he is the only candidate that answered questions about this report. Thank you and take care.
I would be remiss as a reporter to not talk about what you talked about, and I want to talk about the platform, but just before that, you mentioned about this report out of the Privy Council.
Yeah.
Now, as a crime reporter, if you will, when I hear something like that, I cannot believe what I've heard. And it's such a stark contrast to what you talked about in your platform. But I do want to go back, if you can address that, how that's going to help fix it. But that is the most negative thing in my 40 years in journalism that I've ever heard about Canada. I don't see it too many places in the media, and I think it can't be glossed over. So I'd like to talk about that and how you're going to fix that if you win on next week.
I think you're absolutely right. I'm shocked that, like, this is not an interest group or an opinion columnist or even a think tank that has put out this report. It is not even just a government department. It is the Prime Minister's personal department. Like, I think somebody has to ask Mark Carney, has he seen this report? His department wrote it. And what they are anticipating on the current trajectory is a total meltdown, a societal breakdown in Canada if we stay on the current track. Why this isn't blazing the front pages of every news outlet in the country right now is beyond me. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like, it blows my mind. What they're actually saying is that, I'm just going to read some of these. More people, this is for the future. It's not enough for Mr. Carney to say, oh, well, the last 10 years is in the past, forget about it. Stop bothering me about the past, he will say. This is the predicted future his department foresees for Canada. More people may struggle to afford rent, bills, or groceries. The resulting stress could worsen mental health challenges. This would increase demand on social services. In 2040, upward social mobility is almost unheard of in Canada. Hardly anyone believes that they can build a better life for themselves or their children through their own efforts. Many worry about sliding down the social order. In 2040, owning a home is not a realistic goal for many. Inequality between those who rent and those who own has become a key driver of social, economic, and political conflict. In 2040, pursuing a post-secondary education is no longer considered a reliable path to social mobility. Fewer young people choose post-secondary education, and those who do see it less as a path to a successful career than a way to reinforce their membership in the, quote, elite. That's not my words. That's the government's words. The report paints a terrifying picture of a spiral of economic depression and cost inflation. People may lose faith in the Canadian project, it says. It forecasts that this may trigger people to, quote, emigrate to jurisdictions where they perceive upward social mobility or other higher standards of living are easier to obtain. If young workers leave, it may become harder to pay for our social programs for the older people in the country. And then this last line, it staggers me. That because groceries are expected to become so expensive, according to Mr. Carney's top government department, people may start to hunt, fish, and forage on public lands and waterways. Like, it is just hard to believe when you read these words that this is about Canada. This is exactly why I'm in politics, to reverse this, to give people back the promise of this country. And we know what to do. We know how to get there. We have to unleash a plan for change, a plan that will cut people's taxes so their hard work pays off, that will remove bureaucracy so we can build over 2 million homes, that will lock up the violent criminals, that will unleash our resources to generate a $500 billion of extra economic growth, that will fund schools and hospitals and opportunity for our people. That's what's at stake. That's what change means.
Your platform calls for $20 billion in revenue in the first year from tariff response, but you've previously said that a Conservative government would redistribute that to affected workers and tax cuts, and you've also said that you would look to pause tariffs in an early renegotiation of a new trade deal with the United States. So I'm wondering how you account for that $20 billion in revenue in year one with those variables at play and a $31 billion deficit already forecast.
Yes, that's a very good question. So you're right, we are inheriting a very large Liberal deficit. It's actually $46.8 billion right now under the current Liberal government. And well, let's be clear, all of these deficits that we're talking about are inherited from the previous Liberal government. So let's not pretend that these deficits were created by anyone other than Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau. On the tariffs, I have to accept the numbers the government published. Mr. Carney has said that the tariffs will generate $20 billion. What I'm committed to is redistributing that money to Canadians through tax cuts and through targeted aid to industries that are directly affected. So I have said that we will be cutting taxes by more than $20 billion by lowering income tax 15%, axing the sales tax on new homes, letting seniors have $34,000 tax-free earnings should they choose, axing the sales tax on Canadian-made automobiles, axing the carbon tax. So we will use the money to cut taxes on work, investment, energy, and home building, and also to eliminate the capital gains tax on any monies reinvested in Canada. We also have set up a fund, I think it's $2 or $3 billion that we have put aside to keep Canadians working. It's called the Keep Canadians Working Fund. It is going to be a loan program, but it's going to target those businesses that we know can survive and thrive in the future, but are trying to avoid layoffs in the short term while we go through this unfortunate and frankly wrong-headed tariff dispute that the President has wrongly pursued. So look, the bottom line is that with all this going on, we can't afford a fourth Liberal term of rising costs and crime. We need a change with a new Conservative government that will cut waste, cap spending, lower taxes, and bring home an affordable life for all Canadians. Thank you.